The temperature inside the dressing room read 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Muhammad Ali sat on a wooden bench, his hands wrapped in tape, staring at a crack in the concrete wall. Outside, 60,000 voices roared like thunder across the Stade du 20 Mai in Kinshasa, Zaire. It was 4 a.m., October 30, 1974. In less than an hour, he would step into a ring with the most destructive puncher boxing had ever seen. And almost everyone believed he would die trying. This is the story you've never heard about the night Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman in the heart of Africa. A night when politics, power, and pure violence collided under a tropical sky. A night when one man gambled everything on a strategy so insane, his own corner begged him to stop. 3 years earlier, Ali had been stripped of his heavyweight title for refusing to fight in Vietnam. The prime years of his career vanished. By 1974, at 32 years old, with slower reflexes and aging legs, he was supposed to be finished. The bookmakers gave him a 7-1 underdog chance. Sports Illustrated ran a cover asking if this fight would kill him. And George Foreman? He was an unstoppable machine. 40 wins, 0 losses, 37 knockouts. He had destroyed Joe Frazier in 2 rounds, the same Frazier who had beaten Ali. He had obliterated Ken Norton in 2 rounds, the same Norton who had broken Ali's jaw. But none of that mattered to the man in the dressing room, because Ali understood something the rest of the world had forgotten. Boxing wasn't just about power. It was about psychology. It was about theater. And he was about to stage the greatest performance of his life. The journey to that dressing room had begun 6 months earlier, in a smoky office in New York City, where a promoter named Don King pitched the most audacious plan in sports history. King wanted to hold the fight in Africa, not in Las Vegas, not in Madison Square Garden. In Africa, he found his partner in Mobutu Sese Seko, the dictator of Zaire, a man who saw the fight as a chance to put his country on the world map. Mobutu offered $10 million, $5 million to each fighter. It was the largest purse in boxing history. Ali signed, Foreman signed, and the machine started moving. When Ali landed in Kinshasa in September 1974, something unexpected happened. The Zairean people didn't see him as just another American athlete. They saw him as a symbol, a black man who had defied white America, a man who had changed his name, embraced Islam, and refused to bow. Everywhere he went, crowds chanted, Ali, Bomé, Ali, kill him. The phrase echoed through the streets, through the markets, through the training camps. It became a war cry. Foreman, by contrast, arrived with a German shepherd, a dog that reminded locals of the Belgian colonial police. The symbolism was brutal. The Zairean people had already chosen their champion. But symbolism doesn't win fights. And as the weeks passed, Ali's team grew more terrified. They watched Foreman destroy heavy bags with single punches. They watched him split sparring partners open with jabs. His trainer, Dick Sadler, later admitted he thought Foreman could kill a man in the ring. Angelo Dundee, Ali's legendary trainer, pulled him aside one night and said, "Champ, you can't trade punches with this guy. He'll take your head off." Ali just smiled. "Don't worry," he said, "I got a plan." The plan had no name yet, but inside Ali's mind, a strategy was forming, one so counterintuitive it bordered on madness. He had spent his entire career dancing, moving, floating like a butterfly. Now, at 32, with legs that couldn't dance forever, he would do the opposite. He would stand still. He would let Foreman hit him, and he would make the world believe it was all part of the show. 2 days before the fight, Foreman suffered a cut above his eye during sparring. The fight was postponed. For 6 more weeks, both men stayed in Zaire, trapped in the pressure cooker of anticipation. Ali spent those weeks taunting Foreman at press conferences, calling him the mummy, mocking his slow feet, his blank expression. He told reporters, "Foreman's got no rhythm. He's a robot. I'm gonna make him look like a fool." But privately, Ali was studying film, watching how Foreman loaded up his punches, how he lunged forward with his jabs, how he got frustrated when opponents tied him up. Finally, October 30th arrived. The fight was scheduled for 4 a.m. local time so it could broadcast live in the United States at prime time. At 3:30 a.m., both fighters made their ring walks. The stadium was packed, despite the ungodly hour. When Ali climbed through the ropes, the crowd exploded. Ali, Bomé, Ali, Bomé. The sound was deafening, primal, a sound that seemed to rise from the earth itself. The referee gave his instructions. The bell rang, and George Foreman charged. The first round was a nightmare. Foreman came forward like a freight train, throwing bombs. Ali backpedaled, circled, tried to stay out of range. But Foreman cut off the ring, hurting Ali toward the ropes. And then it happened. Ali stopped moving. He leaned back against the ropes, his arms up in a defensive shell, and let Foreman tee off on him. The crowd gasped. Dundee screamed from the corner, "Get off the ropes. Get off the goddamn ropes." But Ali stayed there, absorbing punch after punch after punch. This wasn't the plan. This couldn't be the plan. Was he already hurt? Was he frozen? Foreman's gloves crashed into Ali's ribs, his shoulders, his arms. Each punch sounded like a car door slamming. But between the punches, Ali whispered, "Is that all you got, George? That ain't nothing. Show me something." By the second round, Foreman was still teeing off. But something was changing. His punches, while still heavy, were starting to slow. Ali, meanwhile, was talking non-stop. "You punch like a sissy, George. Come on, champ, hit me harder. You're supposed to be a killer. Kill me." Foreman's face, usually emotionless, started to show confusion, frustration, doubt. In the third round, Ali began firing back. Sharp, quick combinations. Straight rights that snapped Foreman's head back. And then Ali would retreat to the ropes again, letting Foreman swing away. The pattern was maddening. Foreman couldn't understand it. Why wasn't Ali falling? Why wasn't he hurt? He had hit men with half this power and watched them collapse. What Foreman didn't realize was that the ropes in Kinshasa were loose. Unusually loose. They had been set up quickly, without the proper tension. So when Ali leaned back, the ropes absorbed much of the impact, like a cushion. Ali wasn't taking the full force of Foreman's punches. He was redistributing them. And with every round, Foreman was burning energy, swinging at a ghost. By the fifth round, Foreman's arms were heavy. His jabs were slower. His breathing was labored. Ali could see it in his eyes, panic. For the first time in George Foreman's career, he was in deep water. And Ali smelled blood. He started taunting louder. "You tired, champ? You getting old, George?" He began throwing faster combinations, slipping punches, making Foreman miss. The crowd was on its feet now, sensing a shift in the universe. In the seventh round, Foreman landed one of his biggest punches of the night, a right hand that caught Ali flush on the temple. The crowd went silent. Ali's legs wobbled. For a moment, it looked like the end. But Ali grabbed Foreman, tied him up, and whispered in his ear, "That the best you got? I thought you was a killer." Foreman shoved him away, but his eyes were empty. He had nothing left. The eighth round began. Foreman lumbered forward, a shadow of the destroyer he had been an hour earlier. Ali circled to his right, then suddenly planted his feet. He threw a straight right hand that snapped Foreman's head back. Then a left hook. Another right. A five-punch combination, each one landing clean. Foreman stumbled backward toward the ropes. Ali stepped forward and launched one final right hand, a perfect punch that landed on Foreman's jaw. George Foreman's eyes rolled back. His knees buckled. He fell forward onto the canvas, slowly, almost in slow motion, like a building collapsing. The referee began the count. Foreman tried to get up, his legs shaking, his gloves pushing against the canvas. He made it to one knee. Then the count hit 10. It was over. The crowd erupted. Not just cheering, screaming, crying. Thousands of people stormed the ring, climbing over the ropes, surrounding Ali. Security tried to hold them back, but it was useless. Ali was lifted onto shoulders, paraded around the ring like a king. "Ali, Bomé! Ali, Bomé!" The chant was everywhere, shaking the stadium, echoing into the African night. In his corner, Angelo Dundee was in tears. "I've seen a lot of fights," he later said. "I've been in the corner for some of the greatest. But I've never seen anything like that. Never." What Ali had done would later be called the rope-a-dope, a strategy that seemed suicidal but was actually genius. He had turned his greatest weakness, his aging legs, into a weapon. He had let Foreman punch himself into exhaustion, then struck when the moment was perfect. It was the ultimate rope-a-dope, the ultimate rope-a-dope, the ultimate psychological warfare. But the victory was more than just tactical. It was symbolic. Ali had gone to Africa as an underdog and returned as a king. He had fought in front of his people, in the land of his ancestors, and he had won. For Black Americans watching at home, for Africans watching in the stadium, it was more than a boxing match. It was a reclamation of dignity, a statement of power. In the dressing room afterward, reporters crowded around Ali, asking how he had done it. He smiled, his face swollen, his body battered, and said, "I told you all. I'm the greatest. I'm the king of the world. And George Foreman learned tonight that you can't beat a man who believes in himself. But there was a cost. Years later, Ali would reveal the toll that fight took on his body. The punches he absorbed, while partially cushioned by the ropes, still damaged him. Some medical experts believe that night in Kinshasa contributed to the Parkinson's disease that would later ravage his body. The tremors, the slurred speech, the slow decline of the greatest. George Foreman never fought the same again. After that night, he went into a spiral. He lost to Jimmy Young the following year, then retired from boxing. It took him a decade to find peace, to reinvent himself as a preacher and a pitchman. But he never forgot Kinshasa. In interviews decades later, he admitted, Ali broke something in me that night. Something I didn't even know I had. The rumble in the jungle became more than a fight. It became a legend. Don King went on to become the most powerful promoter in boxing history. Mobutu's Zaire would eventually collapse into chaos, but for one night, it was the center of the world. And Muhammad Ali cemented his place not just as a great fighter, but as a cultural icon, a man who transcended sports. But here's the part most people don't talk about. The part that got lost in the legend. 3 days before the fight, Ali received a death threat. A letter slipped under his hotel room door, written in broken English, warning him that if he humiliated Foreman, he would not leave Zaire alive. The letter was signed by someone claiming to represent local militias loyal to Mobutu, who had placed huge bets on Foreman. Ali showed the letter to his team, then crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. "Let them come," he said. "I'm not scared of nobody." On the night of the fight, as Ali walked to the ring, his bodyguard noticed 3 men in military uniform standing near the tunnel, watching Ali with cold, unblinking stares. The bodyguard stepped closer, but Ali waved him off. "If I'm meant to die tonight," he said, "then I'll die in that ring, not hiding in a corner." After the knockout, as the crowd rushed the ring, those same 3 men disappeared into the chaos. No one ever found out who they were. No one ever found out if the threat was real. But Ali's inner circle believed it was. And they believed that Ali, in his own way, had fought 2 battles that night. One against Foreman, and one against fear itself. The world remembers the rumble in the jungle as a sports triumph. But those who were there, who saw the sweat and the blood and the madness, they remember it as something else. They remember it as the night a man walked into the heart of darkness and came out untouchable. The night Muhammad Ali proved that legends aren't born. They're made in moments when the world tells you to quit, and you decide to fight anyway. And when the sun rose over Kinshasa on October 30, 1974, the world had a new heavyweight champion. Not just of boxing, but of belief, of audacity, of the refusal to be broken. Ali would go on to fight for 7 more years. He would reclaim and lose and reclaim his title again. He would battle Joe Frazier in Manila in the greatest fight of all time. He would face Larry Holmes in a tragic final stand. But nothing, absolutely nothing, would ever match the magic of that night in Zaire. Because the rumble in the jungle wasn't just about winning. It was about transformation. It was about a man who understood that greatness isn't about never falling. It's about rising when the world expects you to stay down. It's about standing on the ropes, letting the punches come, and whispering to your enemy, "Is that all you got?" And when the final bell rings, and the crowd is chanting your name, and your hand is raised in victory, you realize that the fight was never really about the other man. It was always about you. About what you were willing to endure. About what you were willing to become. That's what Muhammad Ali taught the world in Kinshasa. That's the lesson that echoes across decades. The lesson that turns a boxing match into a myth. And a man into a legend.